Yeah. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Yeah. Sheesh. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. We gon' move like this, like this, like this. Yeah, we gon' move like this, like this. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. We gon' move like this, like this, like this. Yeah, we gon' move like this, like this. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. We gon' move like this, like this, like this. Yeah, we gon' move like this, like this. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. We gon' move like this, like this, like this. Yeah, we gon' move like this, like this. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Huh. Whatever you do. fight, we won't lose, we won't fail if we faith love. We will overcome. Frustrations are wherever. No matter what we do, we know we fail at all. We only move forward. We know they give up for less. Because I care, you care.
Fight through it. I am fine. I'm 45 now. I feel great. I can go to the gym and work out with the big dogs. Trust me, I can. And that's after me having prostate and really lost everything. I have no strength.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was muted. Good afternoon. Oh, good afternoon from here and good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you for this second that's our second webinar for this year. That is the webinar for this quarter, and I want to thank everyone who have made it to this webinar today. Our first webinar was the I Care Symposium, where we had opportunity to learn about IKEA infrastructures, the projects, the opportunities, the cores and services that we can leverage for some of our studies. And I want to categorically say that these have been very, I mean, the symposium is great, but this quarter we're going to be looking at how to fund our scholarship, how to identify funding and some of the available funding. I know during the first, I will call that our webinar. That's a symposium. We had opportunity to learn about some of the ICARE funding opportunities. We're going to be talking about that today as well. So I would like to share my screen. I'm trying to see my, I guess this. Yeah, so today we're going to be discussing funding opportunity for research in Africa with a focus on health and cancer research. I'm not here alone today. I'm here with Dr. Omar Shah Ahmed. He's a senior program coordinator with Mayo Clinic, and we both are in Dr. Dedino's lab Cancer Health Equity Research Program. So I'm going to be focusing on the opportunities where we may want to consider, and maybe, of course, how to identify what is right for some of the things we're doing. But I need then Dr. Omar would come after me and also explain some of the important ways we can make position ourselves for some of the funding opportunities that are around. When we look at Africa and the funding landscape, generally when you talk to people, the first thing they will say, oh, there's no funding. Oh, there's no. But I can assure you that a lot of people got funding. A lot of people got funded, and a lot of people are still getting funded. They're still funding their research. And the interesting thing is some of the senior investigators I've had opportunity to work with, they do get funding and will just chip some of the ways to really position ourselves for some of the fundings and to leverage the infrastructures that we do have for some of the funding. So today we're going to be talking about the scope and importance of funding in Africa, the research funding in Africa. We know that if you look around, the first thing you just hear is that there's no funding. It's not that what we're going to say today will cover everything, but definitely enough. But it's just going to give us an idea of some things to consider, where to look, depending on what our interests are, and also the stage of the research that we're doing. When I say the stage of the research, it's not that you are a professor or you're an associate professor or you're an early stage investigator. It's just the stage of what you want to work on. For example, if you're, let's say you want to work on, let's say, care navigation in chronic diseases, in cancer in this instance, and you have not even started. So that's a stage. That means you're starting. So it doesn't mean that you're not an experienced investigator. It doesn't mean you're not an experienced researcher, or it doesn't mean that you don't know what you want to do, but you want to do this and you want to start now. So there's some funding that you need. There are some places you need to look to start because you're just starting. And then if you are just starting, it may not be nice to, you may just have to know where that project is. So we're going to be looking at research funding is important, the role. We're going to be talking about the barriers and progress, how to move forward, and of course diverse funding sources. We need to look inwards. There are funding sources locally, and there are funding sources regionally, and even international opportunities. And also, we'll also need to look at how we can strategically align our research or our thoughts to funding organizations' mission and objective and goals. And there are key categories of funding and mechanism that we may need to look at. The first is fellowship and skill development. For fellowship, right now, I can tell you in Nigeria, and for those people that are working around the world, or if you want to work in Africa, there's an opportunity for the NCCP, that is Nigeria Cancer Control Plan Technical Working Group. There's an application that is for early stage investigators. That's more or less is a fellowship actually, because you have opportunity to work with that team for a long time, and there are a lot of opportunities in that platform where you can there'll be a lot of skill sets that will be acquired. There will be a lot of opportunities to learn a lot. So that's more or less like a fellowship, and we do have the ICARE Global Oncology Certificate Program. That is also a fellowship. I know it's a 1 year program where you are taught, we learn about behavioral oncology. And I know that's for pre-docs and for, I think it allows pre-docs as well. So that's basically for pre-docs, or if you are still in a graduate program, any form of graduate program. I was one of the first African Behavioral Master Scholar sponsored by CaPTC, that is Prostate Cancer Transatlantic Consortium. I was a PhD student at that time. And I learned a lot. Being a student, learning about behavioral oncology. Of course, my PhD is in nutrition, but it was being in that fellowship that I started learning about research in cancer. So I'm fresh. So that's, to be honest, that was the first place to start for me, because I'm not a clinician. I need to learn a lot, and there are a lot of opportunities, trainings. Then we do have Dr. Dedino come around. We had workshops. We had opportunity to engage in mini project, pilot project, working with some senior clinicians, that's consultants in the hospital. I know right now, there was one last year, there was a cohort last year, and there's another cohort right now. And I know by next year there'll be another cohort. So those are fellowship. And there are also other outstanding fellowship around. Some of them are, you do have all these 3 weeks fellowships to learn certain skill sets, and there could be some of 16 weeks that you don't even need to travel. So you may want to consider that. And when we move away from that, we have career development awards. That's for this is good for early stage investigators like us. You're starting your career and you have this opportunity. This help to, kickstart career to become independent. So many times it comes with opportunity for salary, it comes with opportunity for protected time and some leadership training. That is different from the fellowship award, where you have there may not be salary in fellowship award, but there could be training. Like I know, like you would want to consider some scholarships, like master scholarship, PhD scholarship. That's a fellowship, or even residency scholarship or fellowship and things like that. Those are fellowship to train for you to acquire certain skill sets. So, but for career development award, you're actually starting a career. And then we have project-based research grants. And these ones, you have, that's for established investigator. You already know what you're doing, and this is the trajectory of your research, and you just need funding to be able to fund your project. You have started it, you have been doing something, you need to move it from this level to another. You need to create a product, you need to generate knowledge and things like that. So those are also so that's what the project research grant. So you may want to consider where you are and which one will be good for you. And then we also do have capacity building program. Some of these are used for institutional strengthening. Like what we're doing right now is capacity building. And some of these opportunity could be doctoral training, regional research, and you're called to participate and collaborate with someone, or we're building an infrastructure. I mean, I'm talking about research infrastructure now, and those are opportunities. You have funding to be able to do that. So some of these categories are out there, and we need to just pay attention to know which one fits our current position or what we have in our hearts to do. And if we find us like we have found ourselves in health research, you look at this, the picture on it's my right. I don't know, that should be, I mean, it's my left. I don't know what that is to you, but it's my left. Strategic alignment with global cancer and prevention science. You see, there are a lot of people here, people of color, different color, but we're talking now that why I decided to use this type of picture is you could see so many people from different, you could easily tell that these are from different background. So now the question is, how do we position ourselves? How do we want to strategically align ourselves? Funders as priorities, especially in health research. Major focus is usually on global health, cancer control, health equity, implementation science. You want it to do something, you know? And we need to be able to align our thoughts, our research to what funders are looking at. Some funders are looking at collaboration. Some funders want to be sure that it's going to touch a lot of people. Some funders want to be sure that the medically underserved are included. They want the research to be inclusive. So we need to look at the focus area our focus area in cancer research. Are you focusing on prevention? Are you focusing on detection, palliative care, community-based intervention? So those are a few questions that you may want to ask, because that will determine the kind of funding that you might be eligible for, or that your study may be best fit for. So like from some fund that wants implementation, like they want you to implement something. They don't just want theory, they want you to create something, they want you to start something. So, when you look at those for implementation science, they're looking at delivery of proven intervention or scaling a proven intervention. They want you to address something in the healthcare system. So you still need to go back to your focus. What are you focusing on? And then some of them are actually funding stakeholder engagement. They want collaboration. They want to see how we are collaborating. So those are questions that we may want to ask ourselves. How does our research, meet this criteria? So we're just going to go to talk about a few funding opportunities that are available. We do have opportunity for foundation, long-term funding support. You need to think about that. There's some funding that they just want to, they are building capacity for early career researchers. When you look at the landscape of Nigeria, I think the biggest funder, especially for those who are already in the academia, will be TED Fund, because they sponsor PhD, they sponsor research, they sponsor even some master's program. So, and when you're looking at long-term support, you will definitely need to look beyond TED Fund. But I know TED Fund still sponsors some research, but we want to look at other opportunities around. I know, so we may want to ask ourselves, what are those funders? Like I was asking someone, there are a lot of funders that fund maybe fellowships or graduate programs. I know in Nigeria, there are a lot of funders that do that. And I know we need to look at them and look at their focus. A lot of them may not necessarily be focusing on cancer. So we may just want to pay attention to the ones that are focusing on cancer. But for some of you do have research that are not necessarily also focusing on cancer. So, but you just want to be able to identify some of those funders. And we want to look at building, when you start talking about funding your research, You want to talk about, you want to look at building leadership skills. You want to partner, you want to start, because the truth is, a really great research is not something that some one person can do. You're not going to be able to do that alone. You want to talk to someone, and the person may not even be in your country. You want to work with someone, someone that is like-minded. They don't have to be in your country. They can be in a neighboring country, or I mean West Africa, or somewhere in Africa, or even in the Europe, in UK, US. So we want to think about network building, you want to think about leadership building, you want to think about international collaboration. If your research is outstanding, and we need to see how you need to think about how you're going to partner with others. You're going to partner with somebody outside your institution. Think about the next university, the university close by, the medical center close by, and all that. So there's just really opportunity for some of the international collaboration, like this African Research University Alliance is one of them. It offers fellowship for about 6 months, but I think it's among member university. And we, of course, we do have the UICC fellowships. Those ones sometimes it's just fellowship for training for certain skill set, and sometimes even travel awards to be able to attend conferences and all that. So, but that's really majorly focusing on capacity building. We do have so still on the UICC, what they normally do, they pay attention to younger investigators, mentorship programs, and there's just a lot going there. I know even LTIC do have fellowship and capacity building opportunities that we can leverage to improve skill sets, to attend conferences, because there's usually some travel awards for certain programs and certain workshop. So it's some things that we want to consider. And then, when we are looking at, large scale research, we'll be looking at Welcome in the UK. I know some of our big investigators have opportunity to access some of this research. But you see, some of these other bigger organizations, they are quite diverse. They try to fund as many people across the world as possible. So it's not just regional. And by the time we want to go this way, we want to think about collaboration across the borders. We will be thinking about collaboration beyond our institution, beyond our states, beyond our countries, and even beyond the continent. Bill and Melinda Gates are also a huge funder of medical research. There's a lot of focus, I know, in Africa on infectious diseases, but there are also some that are really fun. There are some opportunities and RFAs, that is request for application, that are looking at chronic diseases and cancers. So we really need to look out. Kind of have to make sure you're looking out for those opportunities. I know I'll go back to our regional stuff right now. There's one that IKEA also funded some early stage investigator last year. I know that's not happening this year. That's because the funding for last year was for 2 years. So IKEA has that. And I know maybe sometimes in 2027 is going to be out. I'm going to definitely ensure that we know about. I know it may not even be 2027, maybe by the end of this year, because for the current cohorts, their program is 2 years, and those ones are for early stage investigator. You must be doctoral level. I'm just putting that on your radar so that you'll be on the lookout for that. And that is, they were awarded some good sum that might be able to help them kickstart their project. Piloting a project. So, but those projects are for 2 years. So I know that there's none this year, but there would be. I know there should be for next year. So I'm just putting that out on your radar, because when that comes, but it's usually for MDs and PhDs. You must have completed your program, your what they call that now. You must have completed MBBS or PhD, terminal degree before you can qualify for that. Okay, we talked about Bill and Melinda Gates. We do have the Fogati programs, that is National Institute of Health in the US. I know some of our investigators in CaPTC, they are holders of this award where you collaborate with an institution in the US, but the primary holder of that grant is in LMIC. So, like, it's a partnership. You choose a mentor somewhere abroad in the US and then you lead that program. So it's usually a kind of is a career development award and supports independent global health researchers. And so that is, I think that's a K43. Then the D43 grant is a training grant. Like the one I talked about, I care for early stage investigator is something like different, something like that that allows training of early stage investigators. So it's more or less training is it may not really be early stage investigator, but we'll just say training for capacity building. So they do have a lot of this, but these ones, I know that for the D43, somebody must be applying from the US with a focus of training somebody, I mean, selling a cohort in LMIC. So these are all opportunities for funding. And we could also have the Delta and Kata, they are focused on doctoral training, that is for pre-docs and leadership and strengthening capacity regionally. When we go to Nigeria, and so I just did this table where, I mean, just to allow us look at the priorities of some of these funders. And so when we look at ourselves and we can ask ourselves where and how we want to start and where we want to look, what mechanism you want to choose. So I already said this before, TED Fund is a good one for those who are already in the academia. I am a TED Fund scholar myself. I know TED Fund funded my I didn't do a full, I didn't travel out fully. I only went out for bench work and it was funded. It was a great relief. I didn't have to borrow for a PhD, because I was an assistant lecturer and I'm working in the system. So it was, we call that bench work and library. So it was really good. It helped a lot. And when we look at the industry as well, there are a couple of industries that we may need to start looking at. And the good thing is, there was something that my professor told me that those industry were funding, they fund entertainment, and you wonder why are they not funding research? But the truth be told, researchers have not approached them. Clinicians never approached them. It's the people in the entertainment industry that have approached them. But we know that they do have funding to fund some things. And I know that some of our medical and some societies, like I know the Nutrition Society, they approach some of them when they have conferences. But so if they can do that, they can also, if we approach them, if we start looking inwards, for example, I was a Dufil, that is the producers of Indomie noodles. I'm a scholar because they funded my MS program. I mean, full scholarship. So my MSc was a full scholarship from Dufil, and it was really it was cool because I didn't need to worry about my graduate programs. And even for my PhD, I didn't need to worry because there was TED Fund as well. So to be honest, there's some funding in Nigeria, but there's need for people to write the proposal, to do the legwork. That can be you. We can do it at this. I know that on this platform we do have outstanding clinicians, we have consultants, even though we're young, we're in quotes, and but that is in quotes. So we do have some senior lecturers here who can write proposal and approach some of these organization. So we may want to look into some of those. We have Pfizer right there. We have Johnson and Johnson. They fund a lot of things. They could also, it may not be big, but if it's just a small research, they may be able to fund if we talk to the right person. And we do have some foundation that we can consider. I know they do fund some nutrition programs, but if we talk to them about health and cancer, they'll probably fund. I mean, for a start, I know there's Dangote Foundation. They fund a lot of things. They fund water, beverages, sorry, not beverages, water projects in communities. They do a lot of great stuff in the community. So we may, if our program is also targeting the community, they might be able to fund. I know that the MTN has a foundation that does scholarship and things like that. So we may just start looking at those spaces and start writing proposal. There was something that Dr. Dedino said a long time ago. Not so long. It was in 20, I think it was 2018. That was no, we went to Ilorin and there was a program in Ilorin. It was hosted in the UITH. She said that I write that you should write more than 10 research application in a year. I almost wanted to choke when she said it, that you should write more. I like 10? How? She said she writes about 20 annually. That you must have protected time to write. Then I didn't know. He said because when you write 10, you probably get one or two in the year. Then that sounds outrageous, but that is actually true. Then as a graduate student, I started writing. I mean, I wrote a lot of fellowship and I got some. I wrote a lot of fellowship, I got some. And but that's actually the truth. And even now, I'm privileged to be mentored by her and to be in her lab. I see that she writes up to that. She writes up to that. There are some that are from collaboration. There are some that she's the one initiating those. And I'm learning a lot, and it's something that we also want to trickle down. We need to start looking. We actively look for opportunities. Even writing itself, we just have to, you will never know if you'll be funded if you never wrote. What if since you did not even submit application, how would you be funded? So we need to, even if you get a no, you just improve it for the next grant. You improve it for the next person, the next organization that is sending RFA. I make it a point of duty to be looking for where to put application, and I do it. I still do it, and it's just for me. It can be a lot of work, but that is what the career entails. So we need to look at government agencies. Even though the government has a role, the government, of course, like Nigerian government, I know Nigerian government have a lot of collaboration with UNICEF, WHO, UNZP, but they do a lot of development projects. We need to start talking to them about cancer research. I know some of our outstanding investigators are on that, like the Professor Monisi and Professor Rotimi, Dr. Dedino. They're talking a lot. There's a lot of talk going on about getting the government commitment to fund medical research, especially in the area of cancer. And we need to position ourselves, because when those fruits start coming in, you don't want to be unprepared. So we have to also look at research collaboration among ourselves. I mean, in our institutions, we do have our CaPTC centers. We want to collaborate with another CaPTC site. We want to collaborate outside the country. We want to collaborate with industry. Industry partnership comes handy. I know that there are some clinicians here. You do know some of those, some of those rep. You need to ask them. I have this proposal. How can you guys fund it? We need to have partnership with the industry as well. And of course, the philanthropic foundation. That comes in early, Andy. So this is just more or less like a summary of what we are looking at. So by now, I want to hand you over to Dr. Omar. So Dr. Omar will come up and I'll stop sharing. I don't know if he's able to share from his end, but I can continue sharing if he wants me to share. So right now, I will hand over the presentation. Dr. Ma is going to continue presentation, and then we'll take question after he's done. Thank you.
Well, let me upload mine. Can you hear me? Probably yes. All right. All right. Okay, to my apologies. My first time doing StreamYard, so please bear with me. Okay. All right. Now let me share. Okay. Mm, okay. Yeah, it's uploading, I think. All right. Fantastic. Can everyone hear me? Bims, you can just say yes in there if you can hear me. So I don't know who's hearing me, who's not hearing me. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, everyone. Welcome. My name is Omar. Of course, Dr. Bolajoko did all the introduction, and I thank you so much. I will just go straight to where I will be presenting the slides that I'll be presenting. My slides will be generally kind of tips and tricks, for you guys as next gen, family members or team members. So there will all be three slides. So it's a continuation of the conversation that Dr. Bojoko started. She talked about a lot of, available opportunities, organizations, but then comes, okay, you see all that, but what's next, right? So what does it take to be funded? That's the first question, right? What's that one? What does it take? How do you get into this crazy world of funding and all those things? So the first thing is knowing the weight of your project in the eyes of the medical community. So that's the first and foremost, right? So what are you bringing, right, to the table? So that's the most important thing is because you're a doctor or a PhD, you're bringing something. So it's very important that because they always say that the first impressions matter. So you have to make sure that the project that you bring in up front is something that will have a huge impact. So what impact next is what impact will it have locally and internationally? Let's say you're coming in with a research project. How will that impact local communities, right? That could be, project about cancer screening. It could be about community outreach. It could be about project about educating communities, right? So how does that impact your local community that you are coming from? And eventually, how will that be something that can be used internationally? Will your project funded today and successful, can it be something that can be replicated internationally? Because if you, as you know from all us, as doctors, you want to make sure that when you come with a paper, that paper is published internationally, and other doctors or other communities use it as a guidance, or maybe eventually because you're trying to bring something new, right? So that's very important, that whatever you're bringing to the table is something that that will have impact uh, locally and internationally. How big the impact can be is also very important, but you want to make sure that you start somewhere. The next thing is you have to define your scope, or you have to define the scope of your project and also your objectives, both in the short and long term. Defining the scope of your project means you have to know exactly what you are doing, how, and for how long, right? Because you want to make sure your projects can be huge. For example, you can have small project like questionnaire study that's only questionnaires. You can have another project which is to collect research samples from patients. Let's say that's or you'll be saying, guess what? I think this huge idea to develop, or use develop drug or use, for example, an existing drug for different, cancer. So that's what you're trying to. So what it means is you have to make sure that there's something called scope creep. To want to make sure that your project has ins and outs, everything is clear, and then you have to think about what are the objectives in the short term, right? What do I want to achieve in the short term for the patients that I'm dealing today with, the community that I'm dealing with today, but also in the long term, how can this project impact patients decades from now? That includes, can you project be a base for next projects, right? Another projects. Next is once you have that, once you know your project, what impact will it have, you define the scope of your project, then you have to write convincingly. You have to present. This is how you sell your project to all the not only the funding entities, but this is also how you sell your project to the patients, to the overall medical community. So you have to write your this is usually protocol is what you write, right? For you to to write a project, sorry, for you to have a project, a research project, you have to write a protocol. Your protocol should be clear and concise, but it should contain all the information that is needed. Very important is make sure your introduction is neat, complete and well written. Make sure that your study design is well written, the rationale for what you're writing, and also how this will be done, day to day, tasks that will be completed, how long that. So you're you have to write convincingly because you want to make, and the reason I'm saying that is people who will be reviewing your funding are so busy. Yeah, they don't have a lot of time, and you want to make sure is that you take your time from you know literature review, right, to writing the protocol itself. It has to align. It have to uh this very good sequence. It should make sense. So someone who's busy, all they have to do is read once and they don't have questions. Will there be questions? Definitely. But so what I mean is make sure that when someone is reading, they have a clear picture of what you're going to achieve. All right. Next is know your funding, source. Of course, Dr. Blajok, talked about that, but it's very important. When before is of course you and actually this starts, you can come with a project, but it's always good to align your projects with the funding sources. So before you even sometimes what they do is before they even start to write in the protocol and everything, they look at what are the funding sources that are available, learn about the funding entity and their mission. Very good thing is go to their website, for example, learn what their mission statement is. Very important that you need to know what kind of projects they fund, because you don't want to send a project about prostate cancer to earn the foundation for cervical cancer or multiple myeloma, for example, right? So you have to know exactly what they are, how they fund, and what they fund. uh, and very important, the next question is what is in it for them, right? So when you have a project, there are a lot of stakeholders, starting with you have patients, local communities, the government, let's say, for example, the medical community, but also, yes, these are the stakeholders, but in your case, the most important stakeholders are your patients and, of course, the entity that is funding them. So what is in it for them? What are they getting from them? When you talk about, let's say, if you are sending this to the foundation of, prostate cancer for, or foundation for multiple myeloma, they care about what you are doing for that project, right? Usually they don't have any financial gains from there. Yes, they wanted your project to be successful so they can get their funding too from, from individuals, from governments, right? Because these people don't make the money, right? The foundation for multiple myeloma, right? They get the funding also from governments, from individuals, from other big companies. So they want to make sure that the project that you're bringing is successful and can lead to the next successful project. So what is in it for them? Especially if you are applying or sending your funding to pharmaceutical companies and, those who are nonprofit, you want to know what is in it for them, because they want to know, okay, if this project is successful, what are we getting from them? Is will it bring, because they care a lot about not only the money part of it, but they also care about the image, right? What image, how will this, benefit the company, for example, let's say AstraZeneca, Pfizer, like Dr. Blajok showed you. They want to know what are the both short-term and long-term benefits of this process, because they want to know. All right. Uh, Very importantly is when you are searching those, you have to learn about their funding history of projects in Africa. That is very important, especially if you're, well, you guys are all in Africa, so you want to know, did they fund projects in Africa previously? What were those projects? Were those projects, successful? If they're not, if these projects were not successful, why were they not successful? If they were successful, how? So what I mean by that is you can actually communicate with the doctors or the people who are leading those projects, and you can learn from them and say, hey, I'm submitting, projects or funding projects to this entity or this company. So to give you a little bit, tips about them, how to apply to the process, what were some of the challenges that they were facing. So it's very important to know what were the funding, history, or the history of those funding entities when they were funded in Africa. Not only the funding, their history is important, but the history of the people they were funding is also very important. One of the things that I've been to a lot of site selection visits, or when the pharmaceutical companies bring studies, for example, to Mayo Clinic, and I was representative of for the principal investigators. They will ask, have you ever conducted studies of this type? Have you been ever audited? How did everything go? So it's very important that not only you know about the history of the funding company, but also the history of those who were funded. Because if and here is another thing is, for those pharmaceutical companies, they read news, statistics matter, historical perspective matters. So if they know that that project was not successful, they may say, oh, we had that project before, a project like that in that company or that country or the hospital, it was not successful. So they may have some reservations. So it's very important. Next thing is know the application process. When you are on the most important thing for you as an investigator is time. Time is your friend, time is your enemy, time is you. What I mean by that is know everything related to that. So time. So for example, you need to know what are the dates that they accept, funding applications. What are the deadlines, right? So you need to know. Knowing the application process also means that you have to know, what do they have forms, will they do meetings, how does that work? So you need to know their application process from it. So usually the best way to know about their application process is if you go to their websites. So today you can also look, today we have internet of everything. You can search everything online, and you can search all the tips about applying to, for applying to them. All right. Next is, we talked about all that. right? We talked about you knowing your projects, writing your protocol, doing your due diligence about, right? But what is the most important thing, right? And all that. So as a researcher, or like in any other project, when you are coming with a project, you have to answer three questions. First of all, are you solving a problem, right? Are you improving a process, or you're coming up with something brand new, right? No matter what, which one of these three you are doing, right? Here are some of the most important things that you need to know to make sure that if you are coming with any of these, if you're coming with something new, improving processes, or you're solving a problem, you, especially I'm talking about in the research, medical research fair, you have to understand the following. The most important thing for anyone involved in this process is patient welfare. We're talking about patient safety, right? We're talking about patients' welfare financially, psychologically, privacy, everything. So that's the reason I brought up this on here is because these are the things that you need to take into account when you are writing your funding proposal. You want to make you have to bring that clear because that is the most important to everyone, to the patient, to you, to the funding entity, to the governments where you guys are, so everything. Next thing you need to know is you need to make sure that you have a good understanding, Clara, is the data integrity. Yes, one of the reasons that the funding will be accepted is because they want to know that they'll be getting a data, right? At the end of the day, the only way that the funding entity will determine if the project was successful or not is they want to see data from you. So the data integrity is very important. You need to, from documentation to storage and everything. So the integrity of the data collected from the research is the second most important thing to to everyone. So in research overall, there are two most important things in research, in medical research, are patient welfare and data integrity. That's all research is about. So, how do you take care of those two things, right? Know the regulatory capacity. You need to have so the funding, entity, the funding company or individual, they want to know what's your regulatory capacity, meaning that who will regulate this project? Yes, you say you will be doing it, but is there someone who will be regulating? NAFDAC, for example, right? Do you have your IRB or Institutional Review Board ethical, committee? So they want to know monitors who will be monitoring your study to make sure that everything is being done according to the protocol and according to the funding proposal. So the regulator, they need to know there's a, there's a reliable regulatory entity that's behind you that you will be working under or monitor how you conduct your study or your project. All that being said, all those everything that we talked about from starting from the first slide that Dr. Volajako covered until now, the most important thing in all these processes are communication and honoring your commitments. Communication with everyone. You have to honor your communication with the institutions that you are working with, right? And honoring your commitment to them. Communication with the patients clearly and in a timely manner, and honoring your commitment. Communication with the funding entity from how you're, because here semantics matter in our today's world. How you communicate in your email matters. They can read a lot from by reading that the emails that you sent. They can read a lot into how you communicate with them, the time, how much you respond, right. Commitment is what, because when you are involved in any research project, you will see that there will be a lot of strings attached to everything, and rightfully so, because they're spending money and time, right? And they want to know that this is successful. Why does this matter to you? Because the success of your project today means more funding in the future. And I have been a lot of those, where the sponsors decide if they will accept such participation in, for example, in a clinical trial or not. They will be asking a lot of questions. How long have you done this? How many patients have you taken, have you cared for? Have you ever been audited? Have you have any, financial or regulatory issues? So it's very important that you do your best to make sure, especially when you're a brand new, investigator, in your early stage of your career. So it's very matters that you do your homework and time. Everything is about time, from communication to submitting an application to responding. Everything is time. Yeah, that is, yep, that's all I had. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Omar. And I don't know if we have any question. There's no so much time. I try to go on YouTube to see if there's any question. Do we have any question in the chat? Because if there's no question, then I want to thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to be your host today. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to be your host. And we will see next quarter for another quarterly seminar. And we'll do our best to make sure that we announce as early as possible. I want to thank you all for being here today. Bye.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Yeah. Sheesh. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. We gon' move like this, like this, like this. Yeah, we gon' move like this, like this. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. We gon' move like this, like this, like this. Yeah, we gon' move like this, like this. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da. Watch us how we move like this. Watch us how we move. Oh, yeah. Da 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 da.